For an entire generation, people have experienced Star Wars the only way it's been possible, on the TV screen. But if you've only seen it this way, you haven't seen it at all.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
We've been waiting for you.
The force is strong here, even stronger than the coffee.
Welcome to Coffee with Kenobi. Here are your hosts, Dan Z. and Corey Clubb.
Hello, this is Corey Clubb, and welcome to show number 20 of Coffee with Kenobi, a Star Wars podcast that analyzes our favorite saga in a whole new way. With me is my good friend and co-host, Dan Z.
Hello, everybody. Thanks to everyone for making the month of May such a stellar one for us here at Coffee with Kenobi. We are overwhelmed by the positive feedback concerning our one-year anniversary episode, and look forward to many more years of Coffee with Kenobi in the future. We want to thank Aaron Harris for his exceptional work covering Star Wars weekends for us. Aaron's blogs in the first few weeks have been a great way to live vicariously if you are not able to attend. Be sure to go to our website or find the links in our show notes.
We've been fortunate to join a number of other podcasts over the past few weeks. We both joined Bombad Radio's latest free-for-all talk about the standalone films, as well as other Star Wars topics. Natalie Cox of The Force Unleashed joined the discussion. I was able to join DIY Author Podcast to talk about designing book covers, and Dan joined the Teacher Cast with Thomas Riddle from Star Wars in the Classroom, and William Shakespeare's Star Wars author, Ian Desher, to talk about using Star Wars curriculum. It is great to talk about our professions through the podcasting medium. Dan also joined the Forcecast Clone Wars Roundtable to discuss Destiny, the second episode of the Yoda arc from Season 6, and Coffee with Kenobi was featured in the Daily Dots article on Star Wars podcasting. Thanks to everyone for amazing opportunities and for allowing us to be part of so many awesome shows.
In today's show, we talk about official news concerning the Star Wars standalone films, the standalone film directors, and casting news, and how you can be in Episode 7 while making a significant contribution to UNICEF. We will also discuss how you can get in shape with Star Wars.
In our discussion segment, we share a cup of coffee with full of Sith, Bobby Roberts. We're happy to have him with us as we discuss the methodology of rumors in Star Wars and pulp culture. Bobby is no stranger to Star Wars or podcasting, and this is a conversation you will definitely enjoy.
We also have the next offering of your Espresso Shot with the Bearded Trio featuring Rob Wainfer. And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
Oh, wait. This is interesting.
You found something.
Well, it's been a while since we've done a full-blown regular show here at Coffee with Kenobi. And
yeah, about a month.
Yeah, about a month here. And we've had some good feedback. And a lot of news have come out Star Wars-wise. And so we're going to cover a bunch of stuff here. Might be old news, might become some stuff that's a little bit newer. But we're just going to cover with our perspective and some of our comments. Our first news story has to do with the announcement for the new standalone film that's going to be coming out through the Star Wars. They announced a new director, Gareth Edwards, who just came off the brand new Godzilla this past summer. They announced him. They didn't say a whole lot about when or who is going to be in this new movie. They announced kind of like a release date, if you want to call it that.
Well, yeah, it's December 16th.
Well, December 16th, but
16th.
Yeah, but that could be moved too. I mean, you're talking a year from 2000. You're talking a year from Episode 7. I mean, is that?
Well, Disney and Lucasfilm did say it's coming out. It's a year and a day, isn't it?
That's December. Yes, you're right. A year and a day.
We've got Gareth Edwards, famous for Godzilla, and we're going to plug again our fun appearance on Bombad Radio. We talked a lot about this, so there is a little bit of adult language and theme, so we apologize for that. Tread cautiously with that, if you will. But for here's the thing that concerns me. You still haven't seen Godzilla, is that correct?
I have not.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to go out and officially say on our show, don't waste your time. It's fine, it's fun, it's flashy, but the problem with Godzilla to me was that there were no characters of substance with practically no motivation. They were pretty much soulless drones trying not to get stepped on by a giant lizard and a couple of weird-looking praying mantis thingies. But I digress. Here's the thing. And this is from the Verge article that we're going to have on our show notes. And this is what Brian Bishop wrote. And he says, when we spoke with Edwards, he struck us as a thoughtful filmmaker was interested in more than just the empty spectacle that so many blockbusters thrive upon. When I read that, I thought, I about spit out my
didn't
coffee.
You just say that?
Yeah, because, that's all Godzilla was empty spectacle. It had no soul to it. We have no precedence for these standalone Star Wars films. I am not panicking. I'm not particularly nervous about it. There's no reason to be. We don't even know, as you said, Corey, we don't even know what the film is going to be about. It's going to be about Star Wars. So that's all we have to go on. I hope that there's more to it than just a lot of special effects, razzle-dazzle, that there's soul and substance to it. And it's Star Wars, so I'm going to assume that Kathleen Kennedy and Gary Whitta and everyone involved with this film, Edwards, that they're going to go for broke and make it great. I mean, again, more Star Wars movies, that's okay. Let's just hope that this guy's got the tools to back up. And it seems like both he and Whitta are big Star Wars fans. And we do know, ladies and gentlemen, there is a controversy over Gary Whitta. We talk a lot about that on Bombad Radio. For people here, basically, Whitta was famous for going on a bunch of video game message boards and pretty much bashing Lucas with a lot of expletives and words that are not appropriate for Coffee with Kenobi. But to me, that's passion. So let's hope that passion is funneled into creativity.
I hope so. I mean, I think, too, is also, I mean, Star Wars, for a lot of writers, directors, and that universe is a big core for them. It's a big funnel for them that got them started. And, it's a big, it's a big influence on their work, I would think.
Sure.
I mean,
and you're a writer. Wouldn't that be intimidating?
Oh, absolutely.
Like in a good way?
Yeah, it'd be a challenge. But I mean, if somebody came to me and said, "You want to write a script?" I'd be like, "Ooh." I mean, I would try it, but I think all in all, I think it's a scary thing to do. But I think for them to still take that on and say, "Yeah, I'll do it," I think it even broadens their horizons, and they got to take a step back. Even if they made garbage Godzilla, or if they made some comment on the internet saying, I wasn't a big fan of those films, or I didn't like what George did. And everybody has a right to their own opinion. But I also think that when it comes down to it, and they've been given the opportunity to do a Star Wars film, that's huge. I think that's huge. I think they have to step back and be able to go, okay, let's go all in on this one.
Our second news story, going chronologically from the announcement for the first standalone film, is Star Wars: A Force for Change, where you've got Lucasfilm, Disney, and Omas teaming up for a new charity to benefit UNICEF. And the big catch has been talked about quite a bit, is that if you donate $10, you are entered into a chance to be flown out to London to meet the cast, walk around the sets, and be in Episode 7. Now, obviously, there's so many things to talk about with this. I've not entered yet. I'm going to. Absolutely, I'm going to. But the different rewards. Are you going to enter for this, by the way?
I don't. No, I don't plan to.
Really? You don't like helping people?
No, it's
you hate people.
Putting words into my mouth. I did not say that. I love helping people. I love high fives. I love hugs. Those are all good things. Those are all free things. You're killing me, man.
Well, some of the prizes you can do, I mean, it says click here to enter to win. So we click here, and you can get to this through our show notes. Mm-hmm. And you see that for basically $10, you get to enter, as we said, an opportunity to be in Episode 7. You become a Force for Change founding member. You spend $20. You get some digital cards. You can get thank you notes from Abrams. Here's the big ones. If you spend $100, you get a pretty cool T-shirt that says "I'm a Force for Change." It's got R2-D2 on it. It's got a lot of other things. Here's the ones that are the big whoppers. I'm putting this in there for my friend Scott, who I know is a great listener to the show. Hey, Scott. You're spending $5,000. You're getting a limited edition lightsaber hilt. Okay, that's fine. You spend $10,000, you get a signed script by JJ and a lightsaber hilt. You spend $25,000, you get an advanced preview screening of Episode 7 at Lucasfilm, and there are only 5 left. That's maybe as shocking as the price in itself. You spend $50,000, you get an advanced private screening of Star Wars near your hometown, and there are only 3 left of that. There are some Star Wars fans who are very blessed in the financial realm, and more power to them.
Absolutely, it's a great cause, and I mean, I think any any amount that you can put towards then to try to get in there and win some of this stuff, or win the walk on roll, I think it's a great cause. So might as well do what you can, and then of course promote it too. I mean, get it out there, let people know about it. But you said you plan to put towards some money. What do you hope to get?
Well, I want to be in the movie, but you mean as far as how much money am I going to pledge?
Yeah, what's your pledge?
Well, I mean, getting a T-shirt would be cool, but it would be hard to spend $70 on a T-shirt, and I probably shouldn't feel that way, but I have to be practical. I'm definitely going to enter once or twice. I think it's cool to get the little badge. I'm all about the Star Wars swag, as we know, but truly, most importantly, and we've been kind of having a little bit of fun with this here and there, as we should. But it's pretty neat that they are actually calling this a force for change. They really have the actual intentions of helping children, of going through UNICEF and helping out the world through Star Wars. Star Wars has an amazing opportunity because of their ubiquitous nature to reach out to a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So the fact that they're using it through charity is pretty awesome. So the one thing we haven't talked about yet, and Cantina Cast had a lot of fun talking about this, as did a bunch of other shows full of Sith, of course. But in the video, Abrams is talking, and they're on a set. It looks like a desert planet. It appears to be Mos Espa or Mos Eisley on Tatooine. So then this puppet thing walks by. And you and I, surprisingly, have not talked about this. We text and chat all the time. But what did you make of this puppet? Is there a statement behind this? Is it even in the film? What do you think?
I think it's really cool. But first, I would like to point out that J.J. Abrams has great comedic timing.
Yes.
I mean, his little, the double take was hilarious. I thought it was wonderful. Little, kind of like, it was a nod, a wink to fans saying, hey, look at this, and check this out. But I think also to it gives us, like I said, give us that little nugget of hope of like, hey, look, they're going to use practical effects. And look at this crazy creature we created, and we can, show it off a little bit here. Let's just, this comes out for a good cause all around these crazy rumors that have been coming out. But it's almost like a breath of fresh air for fans saying, here's a little bit of a teaser of what's going on here, but yet you can do a good thing, a good deed. So I think that by getting back to what you asked, the creature itself is really cool looking. I mean, it does harken back to the original trilogy stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of things going on. He's very detailed. I mean,
the little goatee, literally goatee. That sort of threw me a little bit, but it's clear that they're going for, hey, we promised a blending of practical and digital effects. This certainly feels more like the original trilogy as far as how it's made. It sort of felt like the Dark Crystal to me. But, this character may not even be in the film. It may be a background character. Who knows? I don't want to know what the name of the character is until they start selling action figures or I'm sitting in the theater. But it's exciting, man. We're seeing a lot of stuff, and we're sort of jumping around a little bit, and I don't think we're going to deviate from our mantra of no spoilers. But, Jay, there have been a lot of leaks going on, and J.J. Abrams wrote that note. He said, I don't know why people are insisting that the Millennium Falcon is in this film. I don't understand why people think why there are so many leaks for Episode 7. And he has the note, and it's right on top of the Dejarik table from the Millennium Falcon. So to me, what is he doing here?
There it again. Like I just said, it was this little wink nod, like saying, you know what, we got things going. You guys, don't worry. We're gonna all get it out when we do. Just give us a chance to get things together, and we're gonna it's gonna be a payoff. So I think it's all there. He's giving these winks and these nods, and I'm gonna give you a little spoiler here, Dan. I know the creature's name.
You do?
I do.
What is it?
Do you want to know it?
You really know what it is?
Yeah, you want to hear it?
You can't. Yeah, sure. What is it?
UNICEF.
That's good.
For our next news story, we got some more official announcements as far as the casting goes for Episode 7. Very excited about these cast members. Dan, you want to introduce some of them?
Yeah, well, we've got two young ladies added to the cast of Episode 7. We've got Academy Award winner Lupita Nyong'o and the Game of Thrones star Gwendolyn Christie. And this is great. There was a buzz about Lupita being on, and again, no idea who they are playing, but we've got an impressive cast in Episode 7, and this just adds to the dimensions of that cast, so it's really quite phenomenal. They're going to have to do like an almost Herculean, Joss Whedon-esque job of blending all these personalities and characters, but J.J. Abrams is the storyteller that I know him to be and believe that he is. This is just more excitement. It seems like everything's coming a mile a minute really quickly. Is a mile a minute quick? I don't know. But it's really awesome to see this. I'm thrilled. How about you?
Yes, a mile a minute is quick. And I will say, I mean, to me, it seems like, when you buy a Lego set and you're starting off on the first page.
Don't step on it.
Yeah, don't step on it. You'll hurt yourself. When the first page is like this, take this brick with these layers, take this next brick and put this together. And all of a sudden you're like, what is this turning into? By the end, you got this humongous Lego assembly together. You're like, going, this is incredible. I think that's exactly what Lucasfilm and J.J. Abrams are going for. These are little building blocks that go along with Episode 7, and they're building into something that we've never seen before. So I think it's really nice to see these little tidbits come out here and there, and these casts coming out. And the other thing about these casts is they're fresh, they're young, they're new. We haven't seen a whole bunch of films by them. By any means. I mean, there's a few, big names up there.
Just that small Oscar.
No, yeah, but she's relatively new to.
She is new, yeah. She's not
Hollywood, so yeah.
She hasn't been in as many films as Harrison Ford or anything like that.
No, but
she obviously will be by the time her career is all said and done. I know exactly what you're saying. We've got, it's basically like A New Hope. We've got a lot of fresh faces, some older talent that's been around a little bit, but we've got a number of people here who can fill the landscape of Star Wars with a lot of potential.
Absolutely.
So our next news story is actually a little more current. We've got Josh Trank. He's going to direct the second standalone Star Wars film, and all we really know about this, we don't have a release date for this like we do the first standalone film. He directed Chronicle. He's directing the upcoming Fantastic Four films. This came out by Kathleen Kennedy, and the thing that strikes me the most interestingly, because I've never seen any of Josh Trank's work. Have you seen Chronicle?
I have.
What did you think?
It was great. I thought it was a lot of fun.
How interesting that you have seen a standalone film, the director's work, and I have seen a standalone film director's work, but not the same one. So this is why we balance each other out on the show.
Well, we need to hang out more too, so I don't know what's up with that. But
yeah, right. So Chronicle, good story.
Yeah, well, it was original. I mean, it was something that's a little bit different. It was kind of that found film type style. And then what I noticed the most about what's interesting to me, there was a actor. I'm going to get it wrong. Josh B. Jordan. That's totally wrong.
Yeah, no, that sounds right.
Does that sound right? I think that's wrong.
The guy, who is he?
He's one of the guys from. He's from Friday Night Lights. One of the guys from Friday Night Lights, and he was like rumored to be in Episode 7, like a long time ago before they made the announcement.
Oh yes. He's going to be in the Fantastic Four film, right?
Yes.
He's going to be the Human Torch. He's Johnny Storm.
Yeah. So it's interesting that kind of has that connection a little in a way. I mean, I want to say that maybe he was approached for an Episode 7, possibility. He was in the running, maybe. I don't know. But maybe he was more like, hey, will you be felt better somewhere else? Maybe. I don't some other film or something. So he's worked with some of these great young actors already in Chronicle.
Good point. Well, here's the thing that strikes me. Kathleen Kennedy revealed something, in my opinion. She talks about the hire of Josh Trank, and she says he's such an incredible talent and has a great imagination and sense of innovation. That makes him perfectly suited to Star Wars and for this new slate of movies that reach beyond the core characters and storylines of episodes 1 through 9. So that's pretty much confirmation that whatever is going to happen in these standalone films, it says it goes beyond the core characters of all the episodes that we have seen and that we will see through this new trilogy. So does that kind of rule out the idea of Han Solo or Boba Fett for a solo film? No pun intended there. You know what I mean? It does say that it reaches beyond the core characters, and Han Solo's about as core as it gets.
True enough.
Did you catch that?
I did catch that. And what makes me think about that, it gets me a little bit excited because I wouldn't mind doing a solo film of one of the new characters from Episode 7. Could be a nice timing. But
it does say beyond the scope of the main characters from Episodes 1 through 9. But is R2-D2 a core character? I mean, he's never.
Well, yeah. What do you consider core? What do you consider core characters?
I would assume, like, the big three: Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi. The main ones.
Boba Fett.
Well, he's sort of
that character.
He's on the
fringes, man.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So it could be anybody at this point, really.
It could be you.
It could be me, and that would be fantastic. I got the walk on roll, the solo film. I'd like to announce that. Thank you very much. And now let's join Rob Wainfer as he pours your espresso shot with the Bearded Trio.
And now, your espresso shot with the Bearded Trio.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Espresso Shot with the Bearded Trio, bringing you the latest on Spielberg, John Williams and George Lucas. And let's start with Steven Spielberg. Now, we reported a while back that DreamWorks are working on a Cold War project, which will see Tom Hanks teaming up once again with Steven Spielberg, who is going to produce. Well, the untitled project now seems to have writers on board according to Variety, and they are the Coen brothers. Now, the Coen brothers, who won screenwriting Oscars for Fargo and No Country for Old Men, are revisiting Matt Charman's script. Now, the untitled project is based on the true story of James Donovan, who Hanks will portray. Donovan was the American attorney enlisted by the CIA during the Cold War to negotiate the 1962 release of France's Gary Powers, the U-2 spy plane pilot who was shot down over Russia 2 years earlier. Now, we'll keep you updated on this project from DreamWorks. Now, sticking with Spielberg, and the Spielberg executive-produced Extant, starring Halle Berry, is going to be shown in the UK exclusively on Amazon Prime Instant Video, one day after it's shown in the US on CBS. Now, the show revolves around an astronaut, Halle Berry, who returns home to her family after a year in outer space, and she finds herself inexplicably pregnant. Now, the show begins on July the 9th in the US and then on July the 10th in the UK. Make sure you tune into that one. Okay, let's do some Jurassic World news. A fan who claims to have a reliable source has posted on a forum what is allegedly the map of Jurassic World. Featuring a huge lagoon located in the center of the map, it seems that the lagoon is one of the prominent places on the map. Now, other places on the map are the T-Rex Kingdom, a long boardwalk, a water park, and, get this, a petting zoo. What can possibly go wrong? Now, a recent plot leak suggested there were going to be spliced dinosaurs in Jurassic World. Dinosaurs spliced together with other dino DNA rather than filling in the gaps with frogs. This, of course, would allow for bigger, nastier dinosaurs never seen before on this planet. Now, Colin Trevorrow, the director, has confirmed these leaks to be true. Now, he said, "We were hoping audiences could discover this on their own, but yes, there will be one new dinosaur created by the park's geneticists. This creation exists to fulfill a corporate mandate. They want something bigger, louder, with more teeth, and that's what they're going to get." Now, Trevorrow said, "I know the idea of a modified dinosaur puts a lot of fans on red alert, and I understand it. But we aren't doing anything here that Crichton didn't suggest in his novels. This animal is not a mutant freak. It doesn't have a snake's head or octopus tentacles. It's a dinosaur, created in the same way the others were. But now the genetics have gone to the next level." Colin Trevorrow said, "For me, it's a natural evolution of the technology introduced into the first film. Maybe it sounds crazy, but most of my favorite movies sound crazy when you describe them in a single sentence." Well, that's fair enough, and to me, Jurassic World seems to be shaping up rather nicely. Well, let's move away from Jurassic World now and focus on the battle for who gets the Lucas Cultural Arts Museum, which is shaping up to be an epic one. Now, the battle seems to be between Chicago and San Francisco, and it's the latter that has revealed its latest weapon, a prime spot near the Bay Bridge, which was near the original proposal the museum failed to get a few months back. San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee plans to officially offer George Lucas a prime lot near the Bay Bridge as the site for a museum to house the Star Wars creators' collection of artwork and Hollywood memorabilia. It's the best site we could find, both in terms of location and for winning the needed approvals in a timely fashion, said one source close to the talks. Sounds like the battle is just hotting up, and we'll keep you updated on that one. And finally, in the latest edition of Empire magazine, George Lucas explains how it would have been impossible to have kept the bombshell at the end of The Empire Strikes Back a secret if the internet had been around. Lucas thinks the famous father-son scene was one of the last real reveals in cinema history. No, it was pretty remarkable we pulled it off then, George Lucas said to Empire, when asked if he thinks it would have been possible now. He went on, it was without the internet, but it was still extremely intense in terms of the fans. Literally, I didn't tell anybody. Even the producer didn't know. It wasn't until James Earl Jones, Darth Vader's voice, came on during the finishing of the movie that it was revealed what he was actually saying there. We expected it to leak, but it didn't. It made it through the sound mix where the group widened. Then everybody came out to the first screening and said, he's his father. Personally, I think it was one of the last real reveals. Now, you can't do it anymore. Now, in the same issue, the magazine also crowned Empire Strikes Back the best film of all time. Yes, of all time. There was 200 in the list, and The Empire Strikes Back came out number 1. Well, that's your espresso shot with the Bearded Trio. I thank you for listening. Make sure you check out the main site, thebeardedtrio.com, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. If you have any feedback or any suggestions, feel free to contact me on rob@thebeardedtrio.com. Thank you for listening. I'll see you soon.
Han Solo, Rebel Soldier, Lando Calrissian, and Bespin Guard, each sold separately. From Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back collection, new from Kenner.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say, Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
So, Corey, we haven't had a collector segment for a while. Our last major show, we had Steve Sansweet on, and he's, of course, the ultimate collector, so that speaks for itself. But in our collector segment, I thought it would be kind of fun to talk about the Star Wars Half Marathon at the Disneyland Resort, January 2015. Any idea why I put this in the collector segment?
Because you get a nice shiny t-shirt.
There's some swag, man.
Yeah.
If, you know what, I used to run 3 miles. You're doing the Couch to 5K thing now, so you're getting in shape, which is awesome. Follow him on Twitter to see how he's doing with that. But we've got, Disneyland has the marathon. It's pretty cool.
Well, I just want to say, too, is, when Disney does an event, whether it be a half marathon, when Disney does an event, they knock it out of the water. I mean, as far as that I've seen. As far as they have stuff at the parks and stuff like that, it is, legit as far as... You're talking about getting swag and getting, having an experience that basically you'll always remember. I think that they just do a great job of putting on shows that it's fun for the whole family to get involved and do everything and enjoy yourself. I think it's a lot of fun. So
it's cool.
Tell us about a little bit of some of the swag we get.
Well, it is, the half marathon is the big one. It's, for those of you who don't know how long a half marathon is, and I didn't know until I looked it up on rundisney.com. 19.3 miles. Wow, huh? You get a long sleeve tech shirt. You get a Rebel Challenge finishing medal. That's what I want. A digital event guide, an iGift bag. You get a lot of cool Star Wars swag that you can only get if you complete this. And honestly, if I didn't live so far away from California, I swear to you, I would train for this thing. I think that would be
I got it all worked out for you, man. You could just run there from Illinois to California before, a couple months before it starts, and you've already trained and you're good to go when you get there.
That is excellent advice. How many different pairs of shoes am I going to have to go through for this?
13 and a half. So
that sounds right. I don't think I could run that far. And I've heard other podcasts saying, hey, if we can raise enough money, I'll do this. I'll do that too. Corey and I will do it. If you want to raise the money to do it, I will definitely
I'll train. That'd be awesome.
I want to support that swag. It's also a cool thing. Disney is, for all the people, I wonder if all the people who are so worried about Disney buying Lucas are still as nervous, because look at all the cool things they're doing with the property. These things, nothing like this was going on before. They're doing things for charity. They're doing things to help you get in shape, and you get to experience Star Wars in ways you probably never imagined. So I think it's exciting. I think that Star Wars in the Classroom is going to do some pretty cool things with the marathon as well. So stay tuned for that.
So for our second collector's news, actually just tonight, my father-in-law came over with a wrapped up piece of paper, and he's like, "Hey, I got something for you." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I thought it was something he had found, on the street somewhere. But he said he got it from his parents' house, and I thought, well, maybe it's an old comic book or something. I was, rubbing my hands together, getting excited, and lo and behold, he opened it up, and it was a 1977. Looked like the LP version of the Star Wars poster that came with the LP. And I kind of had to do a little bit of research. I texted Dan, and I was like, I wasn't really sure what it was, but it was a legit thing. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, Dan?
Yeah, it's an insert to the original John Williams soundtrack for A New Hope. Yeah, it's an awesome looking thing. You check out our Facebook and Twitter feeds for the image if you're not familiar with it. But it's a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, my plan is to get it framed. I think it'd be really cool to get it framed. And then by happenstance, if I want to, I thought, well, possibly I could take it to Celebration with me next year. And then, of course, if I'm just walking down the street and George Lucas happens to be there, I'd ask him to sign it. I think it'd be really cool.
Sure. I think that'd be awesome. Sure, what an understatement. Yes, that'd be amazing.
I'd shake his hand and, probably faint. But yeah, cool.
Well, it's definitely a very nice thing for your collection. I love it.
Do you have anything similar to that in that realm of items in your collection?
I think I have the original LP upstairs, so I'm going to have to. And actually, a lot of people have really jumped on our Facebook thread and posted pictures from the album. And
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Our Facebook page has really been hopping, and I think a lot of that, again, credit there goes to Lisa, our media specialist, for doing so many great things. So thank you again.
Hello, this is Bobby Roberts of Full of Sith, and welcome to That Whole Thing, and Rachel and Miles Explain the X-Men, and A Happy-Go-Lucky Podcast, and Ham-Fisted Radio, and the Portland Mercury, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z and Corey Clubb. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
I must be allowed to speak.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
Our topic for show number 20 is the methodology of rumors. How do you feel about rumors in Star Wars and fandom? What compels people to generate them? Why do we continue to help perpetuate them? What, if anything, should be done about them? Joining us on this topic is Bobby Roberts of Full of Sith, and welcome to That Whole Thing. Bobby's intelligence, wit, and honest approach are the perfect fit to analyze this topic. Welcome, Bobby.
Welcome. Thank you. You called me intelligent right off the bat. I like that. I
Absolutely.
like that a lot. I don't know why I didn't come on this podcast sooner.
Flattery and caffeine. That's what we offer, my friend.
That's right.
Oh, well, and those are the two drugs I am most addicted to. I did not know you guys were essentially my Jones spot. I should have been hanging out at your little complimentary drug hut all this time.
I know. Well, finally you got the invitation, so we're good.
I know. I'm sorry I'm so late, you guys. I'm the last of the Full of Sith crew to actually trundle on in and put my feet up on the ottoman and have myself a cup of coffee with Kenobi. So I'm sorry I'm here so late. Hopefully I won't make you regret actually having had me on.
And maybe it's the best for last. Who knows?
That's right, man.
Oh, and now you've pissed off my other two co-hosts.
I doubt it. Yeah, they're all pretty great. We've always said that Full of Sith is the best Star Wars podcast out there, so we're pretty excited to have you on. And you're actually perfect for talking rumors because before you were a regular on Full of Sith, you had Rumor Control once a month, which was a great segment that I always look forward to. So I'm just going to jump into it with you. How do you feel about rumors in Star Wars and fandom?
Oh, I like them. I think they're more, to be as accurate as possible. I think rumors are the reason that the fandom grew to be what it was, especially in the time period between 97 and 2005. I mean, of course, people were just going to sort of crawl out of the primordial ooze and find out how to start talking about Star Wars via AOL or via Yahoo chat, or finding somehow tumbling down the rabbit hole and finding Usenet, and then getting in slap fights with each other there. And then as the internet progressed and we all sort of migrated, we grew legs underneath our slithery prehistoric bodies and crawled up into the message boards where we could have paragraph long signatures with animated GIFs in them. We get to the message boards and the community starts to explode and fracture and then reform and do the things that a community does as it gets its feet underneath it and starts to stand up on its own. I do honestly believe that the rumors were the fuel to grow that thing. It wasn't just that, oh, look at all these people I could talk about Star Wars with and not feel weird about it. It was, look at all this news about things that could be happening, things that might be happening, things that I'm pretty sure are going to be happening. Oh my goodness, an illicit photograph of something I don't think I'm supposed to be looking at. Oh, but that means it's the sort of thing I need to be looking at. And I think the rumors is what helped the community grow as fast as it did. I mean, and of course there are problems inherent with the community growing that fast. And we saw a lot of those problems in between 97 to 2005. It wasn't the friendliest of communities, but more often than not, we got along together, and we got along together because we all sort of shared a general excitement, not just for talking about Star Wars, but for, rumor mongering essentially. And so, yeah, I think it's a very key component, and it's still a key component even now. I mean, people like talking about the books. People like talking about video games. People like talking about ancillary stuff like, the artist who may have worked on the pre-production for one movie, and then that artist went off and did something else. And people like talking about his work on those other movies or on those other video game projects. We like talking about all that, but you guys know, and I know, that the internet comes to a dead stop as soon as something remotely rumory or newsy comes out. So we all know what the main attraction is before the movie comes out. And it's trailers, it's casting announcements, and it's rumors about what those trailers and casting announcements and soundtrack listings might look like.
Well, then how do you respond to what Mark Hamill said at Star Wars Weekends about rumors?
Refresh for me, because there are things that the actors and the people making the movies feel sort of obligated to say, and I just sort of understand that as given is that's a thing they have to say, even if they didn't agree with it. They would still sort of have to say it, because you're going to get in trouble if you say, "Oh yeah, go whole hog, try and open as many as presents as possible before Christmas." If you say that out loud, someone on the production is going to give you the side eye, even if you are Luke Skywalker. But what exactly did he say?
He said, what we're trying to do is we're not trying to trick you or mess with your mind. What we're doing is planning this elaborate surprise party where you get to go to the theater and experience Episode 7 for the first time as a film, not on the internet. That is why we are using the secrecy that we are. And I agree with that.
Oh yeah, no, and I understand that for a lot of people, the element of surprise is a very huge component to storytelling, to the point where anything that can be saved for the theater should be saved for the theater. Myself personally, and this is obvious because I seek out these rumors, and I have for a very long time. For me, like, reading about something doesn't spoil it for me, especially when it's something as visually oriented as Star Wars. I can read that a character is going to do something to another character in like a spoiler report, or I can see pre-production art hanging on a wall in a picture that got snuck out of some sort of meeting or something. And that's one thing, but that is not at all the same as watching a scene play out in motion with the sound effects, with the score, with the actors moving, walking, and talking. That becomes an entirely different thing. For me, the experience of watching the movie play out can't be spoiled by looking at the things that go into making the movie any more than a meal can be spoiled by looking at the ingredients being set out on the table.
I like that.
That's how I look at it. And that's not to say that I'm doing it right and you guys are doing it wrong. I completely understand people who are like, I don't want to know what any of the ingredients are either. I just want to sit down at the dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. you bring out the plate. I didn't even know what you were going to set in front of me. And then I dig into it and it tastes all the better, all the richer, because not only have you seasoned the meat just perfectly, not only have you braised the vegetables just right, but I've got that extra flavor of surprise dancing around inside of my head. And that makes going to the movie all the more interesting for me. So, I mean, I perfectly understand that, which is why I'm always like, you need to be careful where you're going and you need to be careful what you're looking at. And I don't mean to put the onus entirely on those who wish to remain unspoiled. But at this, like, people talk about Pandora's box being open. Like, Pandora's box has been flattened and a vacuum has been attached to the top of it. And that is what the internet is at this point when it comes to movie news. So you do need to be fairly careful where you're going when you go online. Like, Coffee with Kenobi is a great place to go if you are a Star Wars fan who isn't necessarily all that interested in finding out too much about what's going to happen before it happens, because you guys do a great job of talking about a lot of those ancillary things, talking about stuff and building anticipation and sharing in your excitement without needing to, lift the lid on the box that's under that Christmas tree.
Wow, thanks very much. Yeah. Yeah. Now, like you did such a great job animating your descriptions. I love it very much. But I will say, the internet is a dark and scary place. And there's folks out there who are willing to Photoshop this, Photoshop that. This person said that. Throw stuff out there that's going to throw a curveball into things. So, what do you think compels people to create them?
Well, the way things used to happen in like I said, 97 to 2005 is not the way things happen now. Information isn't disseminated in the same sort of way, or even through the same sort of channels. And I think a lot of people, especially if the roots of their Star Wars fandom does date back to, episode 2, episode 3, even going far enough back as to, be checking StarWars.com, hitting, the refresh button over and over again, hoping to finally be able to download in, glorious 240p that Phantom Menace trailer. I mean, if your fandom goes all the way back, then you survived the Old West days. And that's probably why you're really jumpy about believing things, because in those Old West days, you had a lot of people who, to be honest, weren't journalists, didn't care about being journalists, didn't really worry about sourcing things or verifying things before they went ahead and started posting stuff. Now, you get that to a lesser extent now, but those sites, you can safely ignore them more often than not, because legitimate information at this point, once those Old West days they hit their height, legitimate websites, legitimate reporters were paying attention to how many, hits that got. And they started moving in on that sort of turf. So they were like, well, if Ain't It Cool News is getting all these views, why don't we actually apply our professionals to the same sort of game? And so now, someone photoshops something and sends it to a major site. Yeah, you might get some pop culture site like Cosmic Book News, which is absolutely not to be trusted. You might get that site posting a story about it. Oh, we got a leak. We got a reveal from a special insider with a secret code name that's gone out of style since 2002. And you can go ahead, if you're looking at those sites, you can see that and think, oh no, did I see something I wasn't supposed to see? But legitimate sites like Variety, like The Hollywood Reporter, like Deadline Hollywood, like The Wrap, those sites aren't going to run that, because they actually have sources. They double verify things. They make sure that they go through the correct channels. You can sort of get a sense as to whether or not a story seems too easy, whether or not a story just doesn't have the right scent to it. And I don't think there's a lot of sites that do that. I think the problem comes with the echo effect, where you have one site that reports something and it seems somewhat verifiable. So another site will link to that site so they can get some hits. And then another site will see that 2 different sites have linked to that first site. And then they're like, well, there's already 3 other sites that are on the hook, so I can jump in and it doesn't cost me all that much credibility because it's me and 4 other sites now. Yeah. And then once that happens, it seems like you've gotten hit with 12 stories, but it's really just the one. And it makes it it makes the rumors way more than they absolutely should, because you've got so many different voices essentially repeating the same thing. It's like if you essentially it's like if you throw a ball past the dog pen at a pet store. It's only the one ball, but you just heard 14 dogs barking, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to seem like there's a whole lot more noise than there really is. That's a lot of what happens with rumors and spoiler news today. But if you're, only paying attention to stuff like Variety and The Hollywood Reporter and The Wrap, not only are you not getting all of that noise, but the signal you're getting is a much richer, much higher quality signal. The signal to noise ratio, way lower than if you're just looking at stuff like Cosmic Book News or superheromovie.com or whatever. Like sites.
Or gee, I want more hits on my site.com.
Yeah, exactly. Sites that that are fairly obviously only exist to essentially do what BuzzFeed does, which is mine the internet for links that they can then sort of harvest the eyeballs from. So they just end up becoming link repositories. Like I couldn't name to you a single writer at cosmicbookmovie.com or superheromovie.com. I couldn't name you a single writer. They pump out so much content, and basically all they're doing is setting up Google alerts. And then as soon as something remotely interesting hits, they write up their own little 1-paragraph summation and then copy paste all that information on their site so they can get those hits. Now, that's a cheap way to get advertising revenue, but that doesn't mean you have to pay attention to it.
Well, it's a good thing there's not such a thing as internet plagiarism, or there'd be a lot of people in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, no doubt, right? So, yeah, my suggestion is if you are interested in news regarding the Star Wars movies, stick to the trades, because it's not like the trades are ignoring it. I mean, we just found out that TMZ all of a sudden has an interest in Star Wars, right?
Yes, well, of course.
And they are the gossip mongers du jour. They have a well-trained gossip army. And if they have all of a sudden decided that they are going to get into the business of finding out what's happening in a Star Wars movie, all those other sites that I just mentioned, they don't have a prayer. They are dead in the water.
They've been chasing their Kardashians and Lindsay Lohan for so long, and now they're moving to a galaxy far, far away. And I wish they would go far, far away, to be honest. And here's the thing. The thing about this, and I've noticed a discernible shift in kind of the zeitgeist of popular culture lately. The option of choice has disappeared. And of course, as you so kindly mentioned before, at Coffee with Kenobi, we don't really speculate or do the rumor thing until after it's happened. There's just so much that we like to talk about that's already come before, and it's just sort of how we operate, because I can't speak for Coy, but for me, I like these experiences. I managed to stay spoiler-free for episodes 1, 2, and 3. I just took whatever Lucasfilm put out, and I just got blown away. Images, sounds, characters. I mean, of course, I knew who Qui-Gon Jinn was, and unfortunately, I did look at the back of the soundtrack to episode 1 before I went in, but that's sort of another time. Here's the thing, Bobby, that I wish could change. It used to be, it would say, major spoilers here, click here, whatever. Now on Twitter, that you don't get the option. The image is plastered there for you, or before you even get a link, it tells you what the link is going to have on it. So in order to avoid spoilers on Twitter, I've had people say to me, well, maybe you're just going to have to get off of Twitter. Well, maybe that's not really an option for somebody who runs a Star Wars podcast who enjoys interacting with his friends and his family, his Star Wars family. So you need, if you want to spoil something, be my guest. No one is taking that right from you. But when you take away the option of choice, then no one has a choice. So let me discern what I want to look at.
Exactly. No, and you are absolutely right. And luckily we have both the mute and the block button. And I would highly suggest that if anyone is being inconsiderate enough to just tweet those sorts of things out, not hide them behind a link, just sort of embed a picture in Twitter for everybody, regardless of whether or not they really want to look at it or not, feel free to do the one strike and you're out thing. I mean, there's so many people online. It's perfectly okay to just X one of them out. You're not going to be hurting for people to talk to if you get rid of one or two, really Rudy McPooper pants who just can't wait to explode their spoilers all over your face. I mean,
some are genuinely just excited. Like I'll point out Making Star Wars on that. They're friends of ours. They do a great job. They love this kind of stuff, but they say, spoiler check here. They give you the option. And actually, Jason and I have been chatting back and forth as all this has been going on. And he's been saying, we know that there are people out there like you who love Star Wars but want the choice, we're giving you that choice.
Yeah. And I mean, for my part, personally, I try to make sure that the only time I'm ever really linking anything is when it's going back to, say, like Variety. I'm waiting until I know for a fact the legitimate journalistic enterprise has sourced it, and then I'll go ahead and share it. So that's how I do it. And I think that sort of reflects itself in how we end up talking about it over on Full of Sith. Like if you're a Coffee with Kenobi listener and you do want to know a little bit more about the upcoming sequel trilogy, I mean, we're not going to start ticking off plot points if we ever do find them out. I'm probably going to end up finding them out. We're not going to start like ticking off plot points or giving you a synopsis, but we are definitely going to try and talk about it in a way that we can hopefully enrich your anticipation and not deflate it. Because a lot of people,
you absolutely do.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. but what we try to do on Full of Sith is sort of enhance that anticipation of talking about what the news is and what it could mean, what it might mean. Looking into the past of these casting announcements that we're getting, looking at their previous movies, talking about the stuff they did, talking about the choices they made in those movies. Talking about the writers, the movies they made, the themes that pop up in those things. And I think on Full of Sith, that's sort of our approach to spoilers and to rumors is one, make sure that it's somewhat reliable. I mean, we don't have a perfect record ourselves. We've mentioned a couple of things.
It's pretty darn close.
It's nice. I mean, but we've spoken on stuff that hasn't panned out before. But even in those instances, we've tried to make sure that A, people recognize that we're mostly just speculating, and B, that the speculation is inclusive, not exclusive. It's not, this is what you need to know. And it's sort of like, this is something that could be pretty interesting if it went this way. Let's kick the ball around a little bit and let's have fun sharing ideas.
Absolutely. Well, we're all about the analysis and the rhetoric and the discussion. And I've always tried to apply critical thinking like I do in my classrooms to the show, which is why we are able to get amazing guys like you and Mike and Brian and on to just kind of break down the fascinating things about this multi-textured film.
Well, yeah, and it's the critical thinking part that I think is necessary if you are going to go ahead and get into the rumor game. Like most of those BS rumors that we were talking about earlier, the sort of fly by night, I photoshopped something rumors. Like those don't even register anymore if you apply even a modicum of critical thinking. And a lot of times what happens is that gets short-circuited by someone going, oh, but wouldn't it be cool if? And wouldn't it be cool if is a very powerful notion, most definitely. Like you can really ramp up your excitement to, Heisenberg levels of purity if you don't keep that critical thinking in check. But once the critical thinking is turned on, once you engage in that sort of stuff on like a regular habitual basis, stories like, oh, Grando Carlissian has an upside down lightsaber, like that is going to bounce right off of you. You're not even going to give that a second thought. Like, oh, it's Darth Luke Skywalker. His skin is turned gray. He grew a tail, an evil tail. It's prehensile, and it also wields a lightsaber. Did I say lightsaber? I mean tri-saber. I mean,
and Yoda will actually be a monkey with a mask on this time around.
Exactly. Yeah, those sorts of stories, like if you don't tamp down your "oh, but wouldn't that be cool," might actually start to work into your brain, and you might be like, "Oh no, I'm spoiling myself. I'm ruining everything." But if you got some critical thinking, you're like, "They're not going to put a tail on Mark Hamill's butt." They're not going to paint him gray. That's not really plausible. And it's a matter of, constantly looking back at what the movies were. It's because I always believe that if you want to know where you're going, you need to look back at what's already happened, right? Mm-hmm. And especially with,
history.
And especially with J.J. Abrams, who is very obviously taking a very traditional tack with this movie. Like, even if you don't pay too much attention to movie news, you can tell that's what he's doing. So if he's looking to take a traditional tack, critical thinking tells me you should probably be looking backwards at what worked in the original trilogy. And then if the rumor you're hearing, if the story you're hearing doesn't seem like it would absolutely be right at home with episodes 4, 5, and 6, you can probably pretty safely junk it, especially if it turns out it's coming from a site that isn't Variety, that isn't The Hollywood Reporter, that isn't The Wrap, that isn't Deadline Hollywood. I mean, it's not that hard to navigate the minefield, especially now that legitimate journalists have swooped in and decided to stake this ground for themselves, as opposed to just letting the Wild West Yahoo bloggers on the internet, carry that football themselves. They don't do that anymore. There are paid journalists who cover this now because there's a lot of money in covering it accurately. Way more money in covering it accurately than there possibly is covering it inaccurately and chasing those pennies from those cheap throwaway web clicks.
Exactly. I think too, like you made a good point. If you listen to a podcast, that's the thing about podcasts too, is like you can go listen to Full of Sith and get a little more extra details, which I have myself, and put my finger on that pause button. If you say something I don't want to hear, I pause you. But you guys come out and say something like, hey, John Boyega's in this movie. Go see Attack the Block, And I was just like, oh, I never thought about that. I'm going to go check that out because, like I said, it's all about history and here's what they did before. Here's some good way to do some homework and learn up on some of this stuff.
Here's a spoiler warning for you. Spoiler. If you watch more movies, you end up having a better appreciation for movies.
Oh, exactly.
And part of the reason that Brian and Mike and I can speak about these new casting rumors in a way that maybe, other blogs, other podcasts might not, is because we like to broaden our horizons when it comes to film. So when John Boyega is cast in something, we're like, oh yeah, Attack the Block. We've seen that. In this scene, he did this thing, and the choices he made as an actor during that scene could absolutely come to bear in a fairly similar scene in the Star Wars universe. Or, these are the movies. Brian has a blog entirely about that at starwars.com, where he just goes into the vast library of film history and plucks out the 3 million influences that Star Wars has. And a lot of people know that Star Wars is sort of a pastiche. It is essentially a remix movie. George Lucas was absolutely remixing pop culture before any of us thought to ever call it remixing or pop culture. But that's what he was doing. And you can go back and just sort of dissect, chunk by chunk, segment by segment, all the various filmic influences that George Lucas, built that movie out of. And not just George Lucas, but his peers. Because in order to understand the choices George Lucas was making in 1977, you need to understand the people who were influencing him, like Francis Ford Coppola, like Brian De Palma, like Martin Scorsese, like Steven Spielberg. And then you need to find out who's influencing those guys. And then you end up getting caught in this rabbit hole where you're just ingesting brilliant movies by genius directors. And then when you circle back around to Star Wars, there's absolutely a much finer texture to the film. There's a lot more things to appreciate that you might not have noticed before. And because you've broadened and expanded your film horizons, it makes you a better viewer. It makes you a better film fan, and it allows you to sort of look at Star Wars in a different light, in a more appreciative light. And it's not just, A plot plus B actor equals C movie. And that's the entirety of your enjoyment. And that's what we try to do at Full of Sith. When we hear a rumor, when we hear a spoiler, we try to attack it with all of that knowledge, with all of that perspective, and try to apply it to those stories to see if we can figure out, how this might work, why it might work, why it might not work. And just sort of broaden our horizons and broaden the listeners' horizons so you can watch more cool things. Because you can't, this might be anathema, you can't subsist on a diet of Star Wars alone. You simply cannot. It's like that one girl who ate ramen for 15 years or whatever and had the insides of an 80-year-old woman. You cannot eat just one thing for the rest of your life, and you cannot just watch the same 6 movies over and over again.
You are exactly right. How do you think goldfish feel? Oh, fish flakes again. Oh, good.
Exactly. Goldfish don't seem to be the happiest animals on Earth. So, no.
Exactly. Don't be a goldfish, people.
Yeah. Broaden your horizons. It's not going to take away from Star Wars. Because a lot of people are afraid to dabble in genres that they're not familiar with. I mean, I know from personal experience that when I was younger, I stuck closer to sci-fi and action films because I didn't think there was much in it for me if I watched a foreign film, if I watched a romantic comedy, if I watched like a British drama from Masterpiece Theater. I didn't think there was much in it for me.
And we could easily have started a Marvel podcast, a DC podcast, a film podcast. I mean, there are a lot of things that, and you're the same way too, Bobby. And you've already got another amazing podcast out there, but there's so many amazing things out there for people to experience. Just Star Wars is it's such a fever pitch now that is where the rumors seem to just kind of jump out.
Yeah. I mean, it's rewarding. It's absolutely rewarding to make Star Wars a part of your balanced diet and not have it be the only meal that you put into your face. It actually does no favors to Star Wars itself if that's all you watch, if that's all you read. You're not going to appreciate it as much, and you're not going to get as much out of it until you start ingesting other things, until you start feeding your eyeballs other movies, until you start feeding your ears other soundtracks. You know what I'm saying? Like, that gives you a finer appreciation for Star Wars. It doesn't diminish the series. It doesn't make the good things worse, and it doesn't make the bad things all the more prominent. That's not how it works. What it does,
balance.
There you go. Look at you. With 2 syllables, you summed up the last 15 minutes of my rambling. So this is why I need an editor.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and be devil's advocate here and say, we got casting announcements with the Star production. We got Mark Hamill doing Star Wars weekends. All this stuff's coming out. And now we kind of are in the racetrack here. We're going to start hitting these big turns. And we're going to start getting bigger and bigger news. Will things get worse?
No, I think this is essentially the pattern that we're going to be in. I think the noise is probably going to get a little bit louder. Like, instead of just rolling the ball into the pet store, you're going to have bratty little freckle kids with gaps in their teeth kicking the cages. But
it's true. It's going to get worse, I think.
I think so too. But so long as you aren't paying attention to that kid, so long as you are paying attention to the grown-ups over at Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, and so long as you're paying attention...
And Lucasfilm.
Yeah, and Lucasfilm, of course. So long as you're paying attention to StarWars.com, that noise is going to fade away.
Yeah.
So you will probably have to worry a little bit more about basic plot synopses. Because
just imagine.
What were you going to say?
I was going to jump to the next question, I am fascinated to hear what you have to say. And I think of quite a few I heard long before episode 7 was a twinkle in our collective eyes. But what are some of the more outlandish rumors that you've heard? Let's just go with recently.
Oh, recently, I can't think of too many super outlandish ones because, again, like as soon as something that sounds even remotely stupid flashes in front of my eyes, I'm just like, why are you even bothering to share? My problem when I'm online, especially on Twitter or on Facebook, is the bite your tongue phenomenon, where someone starts to share something that is so obviously BS that what I want to do is just like hit the @ button and go, what are you doing? Why aren't you thinking for the longer than 3 seconds it would take to prove to you that this is patently garbage? And so I just don't do that. So a lot of those really awful rumors, they just go in one ear, right out the other, and I don't remember them. It's like a greased Scotsman through an air vent. There's a Simpson joke for you.
Yes,
or that one. Yeah.
Some of the more outlandish rumors I remember from the Old West days, and I even took part in some of them myself back in those Old West days because I was a young idiot. I was an immature moron, and I bought into that idea. A 20 or 19-year-old kid might do, where it's like, hey, let's fool a website. Like that, like I'm doing something really impressive with my life by doing that. I remember there was like a fake poster of episode 3 that I made that Ain't It Cool News put up. I didn't mean for it to get sent to Ain't It Cool News, but someone sent it there, and then I had to like go into the comments and be like, no, guys, that's pretty obviously fake. I suck at the clone stamp tool. This is not a real poster.
I remember somebody stopping me in Toys R Us probably about 2 weeks before Revenge of the Sith, and they said to me, oh, you see this clone with the red thing on his helmet? Yeah. Oh, that's a clone of Anakin Skywalker. And I thought 2 things. I thought, holy crap, I hope he didn't ruin this amazing surprise. And 2, is this guy drunk? There's no way that can be true. Thank goodness it wasn't. Although that would have been interesting.
Well, he was just drunk, probably.
Yeah. I also remember somebody telling me, long before the prequels, saying, "Hey, Boba Fett's a Jedi." I said, "No, he isn't." I said, "No, he isn't." Well, yeah, it was in the books. And I said, "Okay, what book?" Well, I don't know, but it was in one of them. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the books have been sort of a source of rumors since before there were even really Star Wars books. One of the first things I remember my older brother telling me about Star Wars was that there was like a series of books that he used to check out of the library that told all the stories of Luke Skywalker.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, no, that didn't happen because those books never existed.
Of course
but the imagination was so rich, and the universe was encouraging that animation so thoroughly that people believed things that absolutely did not exist, and they would credit it to the books because it just seemed like there should be books that are chronicling all of these magical adventures that kids should be able to just digest at will. And luckily here in 2014 there's like hundreds upon hundreds of books with thousands upon thousands of pages full of characters and stories that everyone can digest the way that my older brother thought that he could back in like 1983 or 1984. The most outlandish rumor is actually one I already referenced. For the longest time, there was a rumor that Grando Carlissian was going to be in the movie.
Wow.
That he was going to, yeah, that's real. Grando Carlissian was supposed to be Lando Calrissian's father, and was supposed to be the basis of the clones.
He's also going to be in the fourth Godfather. It just kind of sounds like an Italian gangster.
Exactly. There was another one. Oh, I remember Darth Kimball. Darth Kimball had a funky helmet. If I remember correctly, Darth Kimball moved by jumping only. That's all Darth Kimball could do was jump.
And I'm making this up right now.
No. Kimbal, Darth Kimball. I remember it was a thing for a while.
Wow.
And it was like everyone's BS meters were irrevocably broken.
You could only move by jumping. I love it. It's like that old Smurf ColecoVision game.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like when you're playing Street Fighter and you go into training mode, right? Yes. And that was Darth Kimball. So I guess we were just going to be waiting for Anakin to practice his Shoryukens all day long.
As a clone.
That was going to be episode 2. I don't know, but yeah, those days were the days for outlandish rumors. And what's funny about episode 3 is that I was one of the people who actually helped spoil it. I didn't know it at the time. But one of my friends got essentially a plot synopsis from one of his friends. And one of his friends had to have worked at Dark Horse Comics because I'm out in Portland, Oregon. And that's the only thing that makes sense to me now. At the time, I didn't even think to ask about it. It was just like my friend told me basically the entire plot of episode 3 in like 3 paragraphs. In just one day, he called me. I was like, dude, guess what I heard? And me being me on the internet, dumb kid around 2003, I'm immediately telling as many people as possible on like private message at a variety of internet forums because I couldn't just post on one forum. I had to post to 4 or 5 because my thoughts about Star Wars were so important.
Were you on the Star Wars message board?
Yeah. Multiple. As a matter of I was on let me try and tick off the list. And this is so inside baseball, but on the off chance there are some Coffee with Kenobi listeners who were running around in the Wild West days. I was Fatboy Roberts on boards.theforce.net, at T-Bone Star Wars Universe, at JediNet.com, and for a short time, I was one of the moderators at the StarWars.com official boards.
Were you really? What was your name there?
It was Fatboy Roberts, the anti-fanboy.
What was your little icon? I was just Jedi DC-23. I had like the little Luke Skywalker thing, but
no, I think it was just like a cartoon picture of me. Like I've always sort of made sure that you could see who I was when I was talking, in the hopes that whenever I said something hopelessly mean and snarky, sarcastic, and just ill-tempered, that you would see the smiling cartoon me and maybe take it as a little bit more of a joke. But I was not a good person.
You were a troll,
then.
huh?
I was fairly trolly, but I was so loud about it that more often than not, I would actually sort of force my way into positions of authority at so many of these online communities, which is absolutely terrible.
You'd hinted many times the fact that you'd had a lot of knockdown dragouts on the web with people that just get really fired up.
Oh yeah, no, I got in a lot of fights. I again, I was not really a good person back then. Sure, I was helping share a lot of Star Wars information, but I was doing it in one of the most douchebaggy ways possible. Like you can search for a lot of my old posts on a lot of those old message boards. We just use the term Fat Boy Roberts and Star Wars. Stuff is going to pop up. It's not going to sound like me. And you're going to be amazed that someone didn't like fly to my house and set me on fire based on the amount of yang I was
Bobby's
talking.
immolation scene.
Yeah, exactly. It's just me on my front porch as they leave to get on their plane again, screaming, "Oh, I hate you."
You've matured. That's okay.
Hopefully I have. I don't know if I fully have. I always need to consistently be checking it. It's a good thing that the internet is a constant reminder. I can go back and look at me from 2004 getting in fights with people over the dumbest stuff imaginable. I didn't go back like Gary Whitta and delete all my posts. It's still there. It's still there. And I can use that as perspective to remind myself that I don't need to be taking Star Wars that seriously. This is supposed to be entertainment. We're all just talking about movies, and we're supposed to be having fun with those movies. And when I start to feel myself maybe get annoyed or aggravated, and I can feel that little coal start to burn a little bit hotter, I remind myself that it's just a Star Wars movie. Mm-hmm. Okay? I mean, and I know that they're important both to the industry and to the fandom that we're talking to right now. At the end of the day, it's just a Star Wars movie, and we're supposed to be having fun with them. We shouldn't be getting in huge fights with each other over whether or not someone believed a rumor and someone else doesn't, or someone else believes they have a theory and someone else thinks their theory is poop. You know,
well, it used to. I remember. I guess it was a couple years ago. I went to an Indiana Jones marathon. And I had like the whole gear. I went and found a bunch of stuff from the UK and all this stuff, and I wore the gear. And instead of getting I got a lot of, "Hey man, that's awesome. Where'd you get that?" I also got a lot of pushback, kind of like, "Who do you think you are?" I think it's kind of dying down. But there used to be a lot of one-upsmanship of, "Oh, I'm a better fan than you. How dare you come up here and approach me?" Did you see that a lot?
Oh, a lot, most definitely. And again, I was saying earlier that rumors were the fuel that grew the community really fast, but it also soured the community in a couple ways, and that's one of the ways, most definitely. People
and you see it on Twitter still, really.
Yeah, people are still sort of, getting into that thing where their fandom becomes a brickbat that they can beat other people with, that their fandom is something that they use to sort of substitute key parts of their own personality as opposed to growing their own full personality. It becomes a shortcut for feeling better about yourself, which is absolutely the wrong reason to be a fan of anything. Being a fan of something should supplement who you are. It shouldn't substitute for who you are. And I think when you end up with the sorts of fans who see you, kitted up at a convention, strutting your stuff, feeling proud of the costume that you put together, and their first thought is, "Who does that guy think he is?" That's someone who is substituting and is not supplementing with their fandom. And that is someone who is using their fandom as a means to put themselves in a position they absolutely haven't earned. And it sours things for everybody. We shouldn't be competing with each other over who's the best fan, because
absolutely not. We all love Star Wars. We all love to talk about it and share our passion. That should be where it ends.
I know it should be something that is as inclusive as possible. Not
that's
exclusive.
Right.
Yeah.
For how many years were geeks and nerds sort of looked at? When I was growing up, and I'm probably just a little bit older than you. I'm not sure. I'm 41.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. When I was growing up, if you were going to wear a Superman shirt to school, people thought you were. Now, as a high school teacher, when I walk down the hallway, I see about 25 superhero shirts right away.
Oh yeah, automatically. And I think that's part of the problem with us, with the old guard, with the people who did grow up, and it was a thing where you weren't so free with your love for certain elements of pop culture. I think
you might get a wedgie.
Yeah. And I think we, as the older guard, have a hard time letting that go, because the younger kids, they don't care. It doesn't even occur to them that it's something you could have possibly been embarrassed about.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah. I love it. People just embrace diversity in a myriad ways. It's a beautiful thing.
I know, but and I think the people who have the biggest problem with it are of our age, because for a while there, for a brief period, and I think it sort of overlaps with when Star Wars exploded on the internet and those Wild West days. For a brief period, that was sort of like a badge of pride. Like, we fought for that. We made you recognize that it was cool to like this stuff. Mm-hmm. And now we're at this sort of stage where we've won, but we're being really bad winners about it. Like, we don't want to let people in until they prove that they've paid their dues or whatever. And it's so artificial and it's so garbage and it's so mean-spirited. And I think a lot of the pushback that you see from letting as many people in as want in, as letting the diversity of our fandom spread as wide as possible, I think a lot of that pushback comes from people who feel like they aren't being recognized enough for having eaten all the crap that they ate when they were teenagers. And you know what? So what? You had to eat crap as teenagers. All teenagers did. Being a teenager largely sucked. You can't hold that against the rest of society for the entirety of your life. If a bunch of people who like 5 minutes ago decided, hey, I want to be a Star Wars fan all of a sudden, start to talk to you, don't start quizzing them. Don't start grilling them like they're unworthy to like a movie. They want to like a movie. Help them like the movie. Help them share.
Yeah, proliferate your fandom.
Exactly.
Grow, flourish. Encourage this community, because the Star Wars community is very unique. It's a wonderful thing to be a part of. So bring people in. Don't push people away.
Exactly.
I want to jump in here real quick on some. We pretty much talked about muting options, not going to certain sites. But can you think of anything else that maybe can be done if you seek to avoid spoilers? And do you have any advice for youngsters surfing the net who just want to find out about just fun Star Wars stuff and still enjoy the films?
Well, I don't know. Coffeewithkenobi.com, fullofsith.com. Those are two automatic.
Default.
Those are the defaults. Those are the go-tos. It's just basically
just set your homepage. In fact, right now we'll do a public service announcement for Full of Sith and Coffee with Kenobi. Go ahead and pause this. We'll wait for you, and then go real quickly to iTunes and do a review for both Full of Sith and Coffee with Kenobi. We'll wait. Yeah. Thanks for for doing those reviews. We appreciate that. Let's get on with the show.
Yeah, I would just say take an interest in curating, the lists that you build on Facebook and Twitter. Sort of, it's the same concept as old computer programming, garbage in, garbage out, right? If you turn all the TVs on at once and set all of them to picture in picture, and then turn all the stereos in your house on at the same time, it's going to be loud, it's going to be cacophonous, it's going to be annoying, and you're not going to get good information. But
I love that word, cacophonous. I like that.
Thank you. But
Very
if you are paying attention to what you're doing and you're sort of making value judgments, a lot of your problems with annoying people, blaring out spoilers, be they false or real, getting in fights with other fans as a mean to prove that they're the best, most important fans on earth. Those things are going to minimize themselves because you are taking an active role in choosing how to use your internet. The internet doesn't have to be Stanley Spadowski's fire hose full blast into the back of your throat. It doesn't have to be that. You actually control the spigot. And it's up to you.
Good point. I like that analogy.
Yeah. And it's up to you how full blast you want that fire hose to go, or if you'd rather just keep it a nice, steady stream of burbling information from people that you trust. Curate your internet experience. It doesn't have to be a constantly erupting volcano. You control who you look at. You control who you read. You control who you trust. And the problem with trust is, eventually you are going to get burned every now and again. So long as you are willing to just sort of brush off those burns, sort of salve them real quick and then move along, you're going to end up following smarter people, more insightful people, more intelligent people, because you yourself are also paying attention to what it is you're putting in your brain. It's not just something to pour into your head while you're in the office or something. Like, it's something you're actually actively paying attention to, and that more than anything is going to help you have more fun on the internet.
Perfect. Because we'll jump to our 5 questions we ask everyone. Cool. Corey, you want to go first?
Sure. All right, Bobby, for our 5 questions, our first question is your favorite Star Wars movie.
Empire.
Who is your favorite character?
R2-D2. Thank you. Well, it's because he's short like me.
There you go.
And he's a smartass like me. So
he is.
I identify with the little stubby droid who does all the hard work. Yeah, I like him.
Okay, favorite line of dialogue or film moment?
Ooh. Okay, I'll just go ahead and answer this for my favorite line of dialogue because it's the one that first popped into my head. Bring my shuttle.
Yeah, that's a good hearkening back to before the special edition.
Yeah, well, and it's just the way that he said it. It's so mean-spirited. Like, you could tell.
And he's hurt, too.
Dude was really angry. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a moment in any of the movies where Darth Vader really seemed like, dude, don't touch me. Do not touch me. Don't even breathe on me right now because I will choke this entire garrison. I will do it and I don't even care. Like if hashtag I can't even could blink underneath him as he's striding to that shuttle, then it would. And that's all said with 3 words, bring my shuttle. So there you go.
It's like when you're playing with your friends and they mess with you or something like that or piss you off and you're like, I'm out of here, guys. I'm not playing with you guys anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bring my shuttle.
Which is a shame why it was taken out for the special edition.
Yeah.
So if you collect, what is your favorite collectible that you own?
Ooh, I don't really collect. My favorite collectible, however, is the Story of Star Wars picture vinyl with Darth Vader on one side and 3PO and R2 on the other.
Okay, and the last question is, what particular messages or themes about the Star Wars saga resonate or speak to you?
Thematically, I don't mean for this to sound like an insult. Thematically, it's pretty simple. So I don't think it's thematic. The themes of the film are never what stuck with me. It was always the music and the sound editing, and that's what sort of immersed me into the universe more than anything. Like, I appreciated the characterization. I loved the characters themselves. And the adventure was fun, especially for like a 4-year-old watching a movie for the first time in his life, back in 1981 on a pirated VHS on his uncle's first VCR. Like, watching that experience was something I'll never forget. But for me, what really hooked me to Star Wars more than anything was just sort of the world building. And a large part of that world building was John Williams' score and Ben Burtt's work with the sound effects and the sound editing and just sort of the way that I could shut my eyes and still feel enveloped by that universe, even if I never saw a single starship.
It's texture. It gives the pieces texture.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Well, Bobby, it was certainly a fantastic conversation. I loved of course, we don't talk about rumors, but we talked about psychology of what drives them, kind of what makes them tick, and how to avoid them if you so choose to. Thank you so much for finally coming on Coffee with Kenobi and having a cup of coffee with us. We most certainly look forward to having you on in the future.
Oh, and thank you. I will try to put a little less espresso shots in my cup next time I'm on. When I visit you guys, I slow down a little bit. You breathe in between syllables. So next time I'm on, and there will be a next time, I promise. Just tell me when and where I will show up, and maybe I'll half-calf it.
Well, tell fans or listeners how they can get in touch with you and how they get following you on Twitter and things like that.
Oh, I'm easily reachable on Twitter at Bobby Roberts PDX. And if you want, you can go ahead and send an email to bobby@fullofsith.com if you want to talk about anything even remotely Star Wars related. And we'll probably talk about it on Full of Sith if it's an interesting enough email. So if you want to find me on Twitter, at Bobby Roberts PDX. And otherwise, listen to me babble about Star Wars every week on Full of Sith at fullofsith.com.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you guys, whenever somebody sends an email in or a voicemail or something like that, you guys are really good about responding to those and just getting those worked into your show. I think that's great.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of the reason we're even doing a show is just we want more interesting people to talk to, and
you give people a voice. You make them feel a part of the show because they are a part of the show. We only have podcasts because people take the time to listen to us and
Exactly.
Then they contribute to the discussion too. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and you don't have to agree with us at all because Lord knows I say something that 50% of our listenership is going to go, what? At any given episode. Write in and we'll talk about that as well. We're not about using you as the listener as some sort of stepping stone to make ourselves feel smart or feel more important. We're about you as the listener having a voice and getting that voice heard. That's what we're about at Full of Sith. So you don't have to agree with us. If you do agree with us, that's great. You don't have to agree with us. Call in, give us your take. We want to make sure that you get your time and that your ideas get explored, because we all just want to kick some ideas around. We all want to have some fun speculating about Star Wars. Call in, write in, and let's play the game.
And true intelligent discourse can assuage an opinion to go somewhere else or can bolster how you already feel. But that discussion, that conversation is what makes talking about Star Wars so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Bobby Roberts, thank you again so much for being on Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to check him out on fullofsith.com, and may the Force be with you, my friend.
May the Force be with you.
Thanks, Bobby.
More to add, do you?
Unfortunately, when Bobby was on, we didn't get a chance to share these emails, but we do want to share with our listeners what some of you had to say about rumors. And our first one's from Wayne Barnes, and he says, rumors. What will we do without them? Our mind goes wild with the possibilities and speculation. Then weeks, months, or years later, we see the film that we've long imagined or the book that we've wanted to read and are somehow surprised that it's different. Our mind's eye has already fixed its gaze, and we start to tunnel our thinking. You hear it all the time about how the book is always better than the movie. Sometimes it legitimately is better, but a lot of the times it's just different. What's scary today is that there's absolutely no filter on rumors. Anyone can post anything, and it's up to the reader to do their own research. Once Episode 7 was announced, people seemed to be tossing out a great number of things. How much of that was rooted in fact? Guess we'll just have to wait and see. And then he closes it out and saying, creators should be allowed to create, but they're not mind readers, and they're never going to surprise us if we're always trying to head them off, trying to outthink them. Carefully speculate and be responsible. Entertain spoilers at your own risk, but don't hold it against the filmmakers for not getting your thoughts 100% correct. Maybe that rumor or even your idea was better than the finished film. Maybe not. It's all subjective. Well, thank you, Wayne, and this is definitely something that we talked about with Bobby. But I agree with you. The rumors are what they are. You can have what you want, believe what you want, celebrate your fandom in any way you so choose, because we are not the police of fandom. We're just a couple of guys on a podcast who like talking about Star Wars, and we like hearing what everybody has to think about Star Wars. We may disagree, but we're not going to be disagreeable, because that is not for us to do. It's not for anyone to do. Don't tell anyone how to celebrate their fandom, and we won't tell you how to celebrate your fandom. I think the big thing is just let people have the choice to disseminate the information and digest it any way they see fit.
Well said, and I love when our listeners write in to give their perspective, because that's what our whole show's about. You're saying, hey, here's what I think, or here's what my perspective is, and we like to kind of put that on the forefront too. As far as, Wayne's email here, and he's dead on as far as, kind of policing yourself and just, doing it yourself and being responsible as far as being a fan of Star Wars.
Our next email on rumors and the methodology of rumors is from Melinda Wolf, and she writes, when I was in journalism school, one of the first lessons I was taught was no fact is included without attribution. A good reporter, does not make inferences. Get the fact, the news from the horse's mouth, and report those statements attributed to a reliable source. Human nature being what it is, people like to think or believe that they are the first to know something. Too few people will take the time to check to see if the tidbit they heard or surmised from innuendo was indeed factual. It spreads like wildfire. The investigator can then claim right to "you heard it here first" without giving any credence to whether the news is true. This goes for Star Wars as well as everything. It's a sad state of affairs. Why are rumors so prevalent in Star Wars? Because so many people care about the space fantasy. If someone can say, I knew that first, he or she knows that means something. If the information is false, it's extremely difficult to backpedal. This damage has been done. Quite frankly, where Star Wars is concerned, if the news doesn't come from StarWars.com, Coffee with Kenobi, or an interview with the powers that be, I don't believe it. Plain and simple. I know the legitimate sources, and I use them, as a good reporter should. What can be done about the rumor mill? Sadly, nothing. Rumors about everything and anything have circulated since the beginning of time. Folks just need to be very cautious about what they hear and take heed about what they pass along as fact. Rumor is talk or opinion widely disseminated with no discernible source, hearsay. A statement or report without known authority for its truth. Enough said. Well, thank you, Melinda. We completely agree, and I love with your reporting background and your journalistic background. that you get it too. And as we talked about with Bobby, if you see rumors, look at their sources. Where are they getting their information from? And we didn't talk about this with Bobby, but I want to ask you, there's been a lot of sort of random expostulating about what actually a spoiler is. What is a spoiler for you?
For me, it's something that that would spoil the movie for me. It is what it says. I mean, it's something that I don't want to know that will say either spoil a plot point for me, a character's direction, possibly who a character might be, maybe a setting, maybe a storyline of some sort. It's something that you need to be saved for you watching the movie on the screen. If you were to sit down and watch a movie and somebody come up and give their opinion right before you watch that movie, you'd be like, well, wait a minute, I'm already have this misconception going in watching the movie because somebody else just said something about it, may or may not be true, and whether I want to take that into effect or not, like Bobby said, you can turn those people off, and you have that power to do that. I think that's a very good thing, and I'm glad we can do that, because I like to make the point that we always joke that George Lucas always says faster, more intense, as far as directing goes, but that seems to be the way that the internet is nowadays. It's just faster and it's more intense. Everybody wants to get their voice heard first and be able to get the news out there first, and it's maddening almost. Like Melinda mentioned, just go to news sources that are relevant, are official, like StarWars.com or Lucasfilm or anything Disney puts out. It's going to be legitimate because they put it out there. They want people to know about it in their own time, and so I think that's good enough for me. So I want to flip the question back to you, Dan. What do you think, or what do you specify as a rumor or
a spoiler?
Spoiler, yeah. What's your stopping point as far as spoilers go?
Mine is probably a little more strict than some people, but it seems like there's a huge revolution of people out there that feels similarly. I don't want to see images. I certainly don't want to know names or planets. I don't want to know anything. I want to walk in completely 100% fresh. Just like on that Inside the Magic video with the conversation with Mark Hamill that Aaron got to see twice, which is pretty awesome in its own right. I would like to go in and take everything. Boom. I want it to hit me like when I was a little kid seeing A New Hope at the drive-in in New Orleans. I want to look up at that screen and be completely blown away with new ships, new vehicles, new characters, new lightsaber hilts, new everything. I want everything to completely hit me for the very first time on the big screen. Just like Mark Hamill said, it's not we're trying to make a surprise party so you can experience all these things in a movie theater. That's how I want to do it. Is it going to be difficult and tricky? Well, of course it's going to be. And I'm not going to disparage anyone who wants to embrace that. Embrace it. For some of you, that's the part of fandom. I was always told that there are three ways to experience something. It's the anticipation, the moment, and the memory. Personally, for me, my favorite thing is probably the anticipation. So I like looking forward to it. One of the things I love about this new trilogy of films is that I get to see new Star Wars films, but I still have a long way to go until that happens. Life will bring a lot of things our way in our personal lives and pop culture all over the place. So I like looking forward to it and just being blown away in that 2.5 hour span. Do you think that pictures are spoilers?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I think the pictures are spoilers because, like you mentioned in our discussion with Bobby, some people out there will put the picture out there as their first, link to the news or, the article or whatever they wrote, and there's the image right there. So you can't be, you're just scrolling through the internet or Twitter or Facebook or something like that, and somebody's posted it out there. And again, too, it's like there's people out there who don't, I'm just going to, retweet this, or I'm going to just put this out there just because it's cool, or, I enjoy spoilers. Maybe people out there that enjoy that. So it's hard to be able to, when people put that for the first thing, for an image sticks in your mind. It's the first thing you see. It's a snapshot, and you can't unsee that. So, yeah. But as of today, do you think the majority of fans want to see stuff, spoiled out and rumored out, or do you say the majority of fans don't? Sure. Not to say it's a bad or good thing. It's just like, what do you think the majority is as far as, wanting it or not wanting it?
It's tricky because I feel like in our little circles, people tend to gravitate towards like-minded people.
Yes.
So to me, I feel like I'm seeing more people don't want spoilers, and then when I hear Mark Hamill saying that and everybody else sharing their opinions, it seems to me like more people just want to experience it on the big screen for the first time. But it's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's two different fan groups almost. Like we were talking about with Bobby, you've got the old guard who want that, they have experienced that without spoilers. They've jumped in theaters in 1977 and had that blown away possibilities, and they want to relive that with their kids and their grandkids and be able to, sit in theaters and experience that all over again. I want to. As far as with my kids, I want to be able to sit there in the theater and be like, let's make a memory. Like you said, let's make a memory.
Our topic for show number 21 is the Disney theme parks and the Star Wars connection. What is it you want to see at the Disney theme parks concerning Star Wars? No idea is too big or too small. Be sure to include attractions, resorts, merchandise, food, or anything else you can think of. Joining us to discuss this topic is Ricky Briganti of the excellent Disney podcast Inside the Magic. Ricky's podcast has inspired Disney fans for years, and he is a huge Star Wars fan as well. His knowledge and enthusiasm is contagious, and this is a show you will not want to miss. In 500 words or less, be sure to send in your thoughts, comments, or an MP3 to feedback@coffeewithkenobi.com.
And I might just say that when I first kind of dived into podcasts, you showed me a bunch of Star Wars podcasts, but you also showed me Inside the Magic as kind of one of the podcasts that we kind of riffed from a little bit, I will say, just pull ideas from, and just the format as well. I mean, Ricky's got a wonderful podcast. Check it out, you guys. He's got a lot of fun things to say. And if you're definitely going to visit Disney this year or in the coming years, check it out to get some insider tips and some insider news. And again, he does official stuff too, so it's a lot of fun.
I like the sound of that.
Echo 3 to Echo 7. Ano, buddy, do you read me?
I saw part of the message.
I seem to have found it.
Our first email comes from listener Ryder Waldron, and he says, "Hey guys, I just want to say that I've been listening to Coffee With Kenobi for about a month now. I can't get enough of it. I really enjoy the critical analysis and made me see Star Wars from a different perspective. I've been a diehard fan since I saw Empire when I was 4 years old, and it's been great to know that there are fans out there just like me. I found out about you guys from listening to Full Sith podcast. I attended a few panels that were moderated by Brian Young at the Salt Lake Comic-Con last month, and that's how I found out about Full Sith. Then I heard Coffee With Kenobi mentioned a few times on their podcast and decided to check you guys out. And yours is the best podcast I've heard so far. I've gone back and listened to several past shows and plan to listen to all of them. My sister's a kindergarten teacher, and I've been encouraging her to use Star Wars in her class and join the Rogues without much success so far. I'm a dentist, and each year I go to her class and discuss oral hygiene with her students. And I use Darth Maul and Darth Sidious as examples for bad oral hygiene. Great examples. I'm hoping my sister will see the light saber soon and incorporate Star Wars into her lesson plan. In all my years of school, I never had a teacher use Star Wars as a talking point or focal point of any lesson. In AP English in high school, my teacher used Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, which is a great book, but I can't help thinking that the Star Wars saga would have taught us even more. Keep up the great work, and I can't wait for more shows. Sincerely, Ryder Waldron." Well, thanks a lot, Ryder, for the really gracious email there. I'm really glad you're going back and taking a listen to some of our older casts and things like that. And how cool was it to hear Brian Young at Salt Lake Comic-Con? Very cool guy. I would love those guys from Full Sith, as you do know. And again, yeah, I mean, just to push that a little further, I know Dan puts a lot of that in his lesson plans, as does Craig Dickinson, who's been on Full Sith as well. He's doing an excellent little segment as far as Star Wars in the classroom.
Yeah, he's been nailing it. And our friends from Star Wars in the Classroom, Thomas and Wes, have been on a lot of podcasts like Scum and Villainy Radio and Far, Far Away. And they're just nailing it too. So as far as education and permeating culture, my most recent blog on StarWars.com was about the Star Wars prom we had at the high school where I teach, and I've been trying to get that done for years. So be sure to check that out in the show notes. It was really, really cool. There's some fun images there as well. It's not every prom that you see across the country that R2-D2 shows up. So what a thrill that was.
Yeah, all the pictures on there were awesome. I mean, halo bow tie and everything. So it's really cool. Check those out.
He was dressed up.
Yeah, and I will put out there, when I was in high school, the only teacher that, threw in pulp culture, if you will, one of my teachers in social studies class threw in Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark clip, the first maybe 12 minutes or so, talking about archaeology and stuff. And I was like, all of a sudden I was instantly had a teacher crush. So done deal for me.
Our next email comes from Wayne Barnes, and he talks about it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, to be a Star Wars fan, that is. Of late, I find my fandom growing weary. Sometimes I miss the dark times. Sure, we had no new Star Wars, but we also didn't have the constant negativity or complaining. Everything wasn't scrutinized. Everything wasn't wrong. Expectations were in check. Star Wars was what it was. People could either take it or leave it. The fans were loyal, appreciative, and somewhat united. Sure, some outgrew it and walked away, but they didn't feel like they had to destroy it when they left. Since 1997, we've been blessed with a steady stream of new content, from the special editions to the prequels to the Clone Wars. That's good, right? Yet somehow, with every announcement, the fan base seems to fragment more. Every announcement is immediately followed by some of the most negative, vile comments. Star Wars should be fun, entertainment. Can't we like something without hating something else? When Lucas retired, I understood why. How can you create when you're constantly being told how terrible you are? How you're a failure and someone who just got lucky once? I truly hated to see him go, but kind of hoped he'd take it all with him too. As a fan, I could have a break from all the negative. No content, no complaints, right? Star Wars would be, again, what it was. Then a Disney sale happened. Here we go again. As a diehard fan, it's far less fun for me to play along with the excitement these days. I can't stop my fandom, but I really just don't want to hear it anymore. I'm desperate for info, but gun shy because I know what follows. Why won't you announce the cast? Then they do it, and it's followed up by, but they're so old, there's not enough female leads. Where's Lando? Why not shout out Chewbacca lives? The Rebels trailer's released, and we hear, it's too Disney looking, too kiddie. And why's that kid got blue hair? Or how about with the EU making all content part of a singular canon going forward for continuity? What do we hear? You wasted 25 years of my life. Think of the authors. Stop them. They're taking all my books away. Where's the excitement for the unknown? Is there any way forward for us to be a united fan base? And if we unite, will it be at the expense of the past 15 years? Will all fans have to denounce the prequels and rally to the new film? Or am I just waxing nostalgic? Were we ever really on the same page? People, Lucasfilm included, are positioning this as the makeup film to bring everyone back. Oh, they're shooting on film. But is that the way forward? Star Wars is huge. Everyone has a different experience with it, and people have expectations. Their own expectations, and it's nearly impossible to satisfy everyone. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right? The Empire succeeded because it went its own way, unexpectedly, and opened up the saga to unexpected twists and turns. It was a bold approach to a sequel. It took chances. And so did the prequels. And that's again by Wayne. And Wayne, that is another home run of an email. Fantastic. And he's pointing out a lot of the things that people are complaining about. And yeah, it does wear on me a little bit hearing some of those kind of things. I think there's a lot of validity to some of the arguments, like the female leads was clearly a very important conversation that had to be addressed. But other than that, there does seem to be a lot of people who are disagreeing just to be disagreeable. What do you think?
I think it's a very important email, and I feel bad for Wayne. I mean, it does get daunting after a while, and even us as doing this podcast, we kind of have to investigate each little nugget of truth out there, or little rumor or whatever, just in a certain sense, just to be able to report on. But I mean, it's the internet itself. It's not necessarily Star Wars. So I mean, a lot of people will sit behind their computer screens and hide and put something out there that's negative because they can hide and say it. They can't, stand up in front of somebody and say, I didn't like the EU, or why are they doing this? It seems like, they're putting a lot of negativity out there because they can hide behind a computer screen and do that.
One of the things I've always said, it's okay to disagree, just not to be disagreeable.
Right.
Right? I mean,
I agree.
There's certain things you don't like and complain, but sometimes there's some people there's some avenues that people explore through Star Wars fandom where you almost have to wonder, like, if something is making you that upset or that uncomfortable, then where are you getting your enjoyment from? It should be something. It should be something as a release that brings you joy.
Right. Yeah, and I think.
I mean, I don't like this. Some things in a special edition, but
sure,
it hasn't terminated my enthusiasm for being a Star Wars guy.
No, and I would hope that he would.
I don't even know.
No, that's good. I hope that Wayne wouldn't take everything out there that's also heavy with a heavy heart, because you'll get depressed and you'll feel bad and you will. I mean, so like we talked about in the discussion with Bobby, turn that stuff off. If it's bringing you down, shut it off, take a break. Turn the computer off, walk outside, I mean, I have to do that once in a while for myself, just from, just the constant negativity, even with, take away Star Wars, take away all the negativity in the world itself. News reports out there on news sites are 90% negativity, violence, hate,
That's
crime.
true. Yeah.
I mean, it's all bad because it's newsworthy. It gets a click, it gets a comment, it gets a like or a dislike or whatever, it's out there to get your attention. And if you can't rise above that and know that there is good out there, because there is good out there, and we just don't see that often enough. The internet, that's the internet itself. It's just a beast in its own. So I think to be able to, if it's bothering you that much or you're getting down about it, yeah, go for a walk, take a break, because it'll go away. I mean, and the thing is, don't let it get your fam down too, because like we've always talked about on the show, celebrate in your own way and how you love to do it. Go read the EU books. Go,
Well, and Wayne is
Sure.
really just expressing the frustration a lot of us feel. I mean, I could have easily have written a similar email, so I applaud his wisdom and his integrity for putting out what he did, because it's true. There's some things out there that are where people are focusing more on some of the negative. It's challenging for me. I mean, if you've ever listened to me critique Pacific Rim, I'm not going to be shy about something if I'm not a fan of it. But it's really, really difficult for me. Let me put it to you this way. One of the most challenging things as an educator is to get students to read. Reading, I'm not going to say it's a lost art, because it isn't. But it's certainly not something that some of my students jump towards, okay? So a lot of students will say, oh, I don't like that book. And typically my response is, well, did you actually read it? And I would say 99% of the time, the students who don't quote unquote like a book haven't actually read the book. So conversely, how can we not like something that hasn't happened yet that we haven't even seen? You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. And you're obviously referencing, we haven't sat down and watched episode 7 to have a comment and have our opinion, because it's not made yet. It's not done yet. I mean, we're still waiting on a lot of things. And again, like we've been saying, we've all been saying that the internet's just going to, pop up rumors and pop up, trying to kill our love. And it's difficult. But, yeah.
We'll stay the course here at Coffee with Kenobi and bring you Star Wars news and rhetoric and discussion with a little bit of caffeine.
Absolutely. Bring it up a notch.
Hi, guys. It's Chris from the Star Wars Kids Cast. With me is my little girl. You going to say hi? She's waving to you. And we just wanted to say happy anniversary, happy birthday, happy 1-year anniversary of doing Coffee with Kenobi. We enjoy the show very much, or I do, and I don't mind playing it when she's around. It's one of the few podcasts that I will be able to continue playing when she's around, as she's picking up more and more words. So thanks. In-depth adult conversation about Star Wars topics and news, and it's just been a lot of fun listening to you guys over the last year, and looking forward to many more. Thanks a lot, guys.
Well, thank you, Chris. We're looking forward to having Chris on in the future for a cup of Clone Wars, which, Corey, remember that little contest we had a little bit ago?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, I think it's time for us to announce our winner. And as you may recall, and it has been a while, what we had you do is go into iTunes, write a review of our show, and if you put hashtag Clone Wars, you're entered into a drawing where the person who we picked at random gets to co-host an episode of Cup of Clone Wars with us, which we're starting up next week. And our very first guest is going to be Eric Eller of the Force Cast. So we're extremely excited about that. A great way to do it. I had so much fun on the Clone Wars Roundtable discussing Destiny. So he's certainly the best person to have on to start us off. So our winner, and I'm just going to read this as it's written, is AMYISRAELCHAI. It's Yisrael Chai. I don't know how to pronounce it, but if you wrote a review, and I'll just read it. It says, "There's nothing like a piping hot brew of coffee with Kenobi to give you all the important Star Wars news and fun randomness within the Star Wars universe, including the Clone Wars. Subscribe, and may the Force be with you." So if you heard this, we'll give you, what do you think, Corey? We'll give you 2 weeks to email us and prove that you're you, and you will co-host an episode of A Cup of Clone Wars with us starting this summer. Make sure to contact us at feedback@coffeewithkenobi.com. And if we're not able to hear from you within 2 weeks, then we'll just go ahead and draw a new winner.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. We can't wait to have the discussion with you.
Chewie, get us out of here!
If you would like to respond to our question of the show, have a comment, or just want to say hello, send us an email or MP3 at feedback@coffeewithkenobi.com. Or if you have a specific question or comment for either of us individually, email us at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com or coreys@coffeewithkenobi.com, or visit us at coffeewithkenobi.com and click on the Contact Us section, or comment on one of the stories featured on the site. If you enjoy the show, please write a review in iTunes. You can also like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi, as well as keep up to date on our Twitter feed at twitter.com/coffeewithkenobi. You can also find us on Tumblr at coffeewithkenobi.tumblr.com. If you enjoy the jazz music, download the album Eye to Eye by Steve Torok on iTunes.
Give the evacuation code signal.
That's it for show number 20 of Coffee with Kenobi. A big thank you to Bobby Roberts for having a cup of coffee with us and for discussing the methodology of rumors. Be sure to check out Bobby on Full of Sith and Welcome to That Whole Thing. And be sure to check out the links in our show notes.
Thanks to Rob from the Bearded Trio. To everyone who contributed to this show, and to all of you out there who listened and email Coffee with Kenobi. Don't forget to send us your comments and opinions on the show topic for show number 21, the Disney theme park and Star Wars connection.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars-related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.